Hey girls and gals, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor. Welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. Today is Monday. I just ended my last vlog where I talked about Silver Nitrate. I got about 3 chapters into this one and I'm very excited to keep continuing this one this week. So this takes place in 1990s Mexico City, where we have Montserrat, who is a female film editor, sound editor in a era where she is the only girl in a boys club. We also follow her best friend since childhood, Tristan, who after a car accident, this once famous actor is a little bit, I don't want to say washed up because that's like, I feel like that's very rude, but he's on the up and up. He's trying to regain some of his former glory. He now does mostly voiceovers and things like that instead of the feature films that he wants to be filming, and a mysterious director who used to direct horror movies and does not anymore. This director claims that this particular horror movie is the reason that his career disappeared overnight. It's cursed. He wants Tristan and Montserrat to help him film the missing footage and break the curse. So that is what our main characters are going to be doing in Silver Nitrate. I'm really enjoying this one so far. I'm 3 chapters in and I just feel like I'm really gonna love it. And then for other reading plans that I have this week, other than mood reading, I do plan on picking up Night's Edge by Kerin. All I know is this is about vampires. It's been getting a lot of buzz as a Tor Nightfire release and I tend to really love their horror releases, so I will be reading both of these books this week. And then other than that, I'm not really sure. I'm gonna be honest, I am still in a horror mood. I'm very much just excited for spooky season. I'm just really looking forward to it. Me and my partner saw Talk to Me last weekend and it was so good. There was a scene that I don't want to compare the movie itself to Hereditary, but if everyone remembers the infamous scene in Hereditary where it just comes out of nowhere and everyone's jaw in the theaters dropped, there's a scene like that in Talk to Me and I have not felt that way since seeing Hereditary. So it was good. It's been a while since I've been very perturbed by a horror movie. Don't know what that says about me, but like, I was disturbed watching the things on screen, but in a good way. I thought it was very well done. Directorial debut, which is really cool. So I cannot wait to see what the directors do next. So yeah, I'm in a horror mood, so that's why the 2 books that I know I'm gonna read this week are gonna be horror. Other than that, I'm anticipating maybe some new horror, maybe, I don't know. Just really depends on what books that I need to return to the library this week. I don't work at the library anymore, but I do plan on going at least maybe once a week because I check out a ton of stuff. I have a lot of friends there, so yes. It also depends on what holds I get in as well. So this is my tentative TBR for the week, and of course adding in whatever else I feel like it throughout the week as my mood changes. I can tell it is about to storm like any minute now. Like, the sky looks very ominous, and of course that's perfect reading horror at home weather. So I am going to wrap up this clip and get settled, get my reading setup ready so I can just have a good spooky afternoon reading horror, listening to, like, I'm gonna throw in like a fall or spooky ambiance and then have that rainstorm in the background. It's gonna be really good. So welcome to another weekly reading vlog. I will talk to y'all later. morning, ghouls and gals. Happy Tuesday. I am about 40% of the way through Silver Nitrate and I am really enjoying it. I've been listening to mostly the audiobook like while reading along with the physical book, and that's just been like really fun. The audiobook narrator does a couple other of Silvia Moreno-Garcia's books in audio form. So I think at least the most recent couple, the one about Dr. Moreau, and then I think Velvet is the Night, I believe, same audiobook narrator, I think, which is cool. So it is slow to start. You know, there's a lot of building up of the characters, and I'd say we're starting to finally get into like the meat and potatoes of this book. Finally starting to get into maybe some backstories, figure out what's happening. Spooky things are starting to happen. So I'm really enjoying this one. I feel like it could make a really good movie because this is like such a visual book. Like as I'm listening to it, as I'm reading it, I can just see everything that's going on. And just I'm really enjoying the characters. There's casual, either bisexual or pansexual, two main characters, both Montserrat and Tristan. Both have mentioned dating men and women in the past, so it's not labeled in here, and since it does take place in the 90s, I'm not sure like, you know, what kind of terms would have been used, but both of them have dated men and women. Just some very casual queer rep in there. So that's pretty much all I have for update. Today is the release day of Masters of Death by Olivia Blake, which I'm so looking forward to. My Barnes & Noble pre-order didn't ship until yesterday though, so I'm probably not going to get that today, but that's definitely going to be going on the TBR for this week as soon as I get it, if I get it. So yes, I'm hoping to finish this today because it's intensely readable. Like I have not wanted to put this down. I've been listening to this while I've been folding laundry, making dinner, picking it up like at every opportunity I get. So very readable book. I'm very excited to keep on keeping on with it. Maybe finish it today. I'm not too sure, but I'm gonna go get to reading and I will check back in with y'all later. Hey friends, happy Wednesday. I finished Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno-Garcia and I enjoyed this one a lot. I don't think it's going to top Certain Dark Things or Mexican Gothic for me, but I did really enjoy this one. I think what is so cool about Silvia Moreno-Garcia as an author is that she dabbles in so many different speculative genres. And what I've kind of found is like simultaneously so cool and so interesting as a writer is if you are not interested in the premise, her writing is not necessarily going to sell it for you because she commits and dives into that premise. Like Velvet was the Night. I have DNF'd that. I want to try and return to it at some point, but I'm not like a noir person, and I tried to read that and it was written so well, like the best written noir you could ask for, but I don't like noirs, like the detective noir genre. So that was kind of like a miss for me. So what I think is really cool, like as an author, she's able to have fun and dabble and play in all these different genres. So I think the number one takeaway from this one is if you're not interested in the premise, I don't think you're going to be interested in the book, because that is what I have found with Silvia Moreno-Garcia. If I'm interested in the premise, I'm going to pick it up and have a wonderful time. If I'm not, it's just like not a genre that I'm normally that invested in, I won't be. This one I really enjoyed. Like the 90s, it was like an ode to 90s filmmaking, to horror movies, to just like cinema. So it had those aspects, 90s horror, and then also combined with like 40s mysticism involving like Nazis and their really strange dabblings in the mystic arts to try and justify their bigotry and hatred and the way that they're superior to other people. It's such a strange combo, but it absolutely works. And for this one, my only like slight thing that I don't even think is a complaint, but just something, my expectations versus reality of this book, I thought we'd spend more time with Montserrat and Tristan kind of filming the lost footage, like helping to make that lost footage. That's like a paragraph in here. So don't go into it expecting like Burn the Negative was one where we were on a TV set, we were going through the filming process with actors and everything like that, scripts, filming. Like this is not that, which is totally fine, but I was expecting like maybe half of this to be them filming and like mishaps happening as they're filming and refilming this footage, but that part is actually very small. I think it's like maybe a page of that where they're actually doing like the editing and the refilms, and then it's all that like happens after that is where the true spookiness and the mystical, magical, crazy sorcery and curse things start happening. So I really enjoyed it. I have a speculative fiction book where it's like a mystery, a paranormal mystery, paranormal horror, with two chaotic bisexuals, pansexuals at the helm. So I enjoyed it. The author's note at the end where Silvia Moreno-Garcia goes into her own like motifs and symbology that she's noticed that she's kind of repeated throughout her works, as well as her inspirations for this book. Very fascinating. It wasn't in the audiobook version, at least the one that I had listened to, but it is in the physical copy. So if you can find that afterward, definitely read it because I think it adds a lot of context to this story. And like she mentions in the afterword, truth is often stranger than fiction. So that was good reading. I enjoyed my time reading this, and now we are on to the next book, which is Night's Edge by Liz Kerin. We're getting some vampires up in here. This is the start of a series, I believe, which is pretty cool because I love me some vampires. But essentially this is following our main character Mia, and this is in a world where vampirism kind of spreads like a disease. Everyone's aware of people who become vampires, and it's kind of like there's like testing procedures and like separation procedures, kind of like COVID procedures that we had in the heyday of COVID, where we had people, you know, testing at stores, at the beginning of stores, if you could be let in or not, things like that. But it's all for vampirism. So our main character Mia, her mother has been infected with, I want to say it's not sarin, because that's like a real thing. Saratov syndrome. Okay, so Saratov syndrome is what they're calling vampirism. So that's interesting. We've got a modern world where people are very aware this exists, and there is prejudice against people who are infected with Saratov syndrome. So Mia is living with her mother, who does have Saratov's, has had it since 2010 when she was a young girl, and we have two separate timelines, 2010 and present day. So we're following Mia as a child while she's dealing with her mother becoming a vampire, and then present day where you explore their very strange and unhealthy relationship dynamic, because now Mia's like grown up, she's gonna be older than her mother soon, and just exploring all the personal sacrifices she's had to make to help her mother hide the fact that she's a vampire. So we have that. I'm not too sure what, I'm on page 40, so I'm not too sure what the plot of this is gonna be, but I'm very excited. I'm listening to the audiobook while I'm reading along with it, and the audiobook's narrated by one of the main characters in the movie Bodies, 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 which is pretty cool, and she's doing a really good job. So I'm gonna be continuing to read this throughout today. I've been having a pretty low day just in terms of just like my mental health. I've kind of been putting it on the back burner. Just have had several like crises with friends, with different friends, and just like a lot going on, and it just, I needed a day where I ordered in a pizza for myself, watched a movie, and probably will continue to just be very, very laid back. And not do anything because it's been a lot. August has been a lot, frankly. So it's gonna be a chill day. I know for a lot of people, like, a mental health day might not involve watching a horror movie, but I do think it's actually very fascinating. There's a lot of links between people with anxiety and people who like horror, like having like a outlet to experience controlled anxiety. I think that's very fascinating. So it does actually help. I'm not like stressing myself out, freaking myself out more. So I might read, I might not. I've kind of just been laying in bed all day. So if I read, it'll definitely be an audiobook format because just like holding up a book is a lot today. So yeah, the pups are great. We've been cuddling all day. Might have given them some pizza crust when I had my lunch, and my partner's coming home soon, so I am excited about that. Probably going to be like a very relaxed day. I'm okay. It's just been a lot. I've just been trying to be a caretaker for a lot of people, and have kind of been putting myself on the back burner. So I think, you know, I'm not gonna ghost y'all for the rest of the week. I really do think that today, if I take a very ultra veg day, then tomorrow I'll be feeling a little bit better. So that's really my plan, is to lay in bed, cuddle puddle with the pups, and just kind of watch some movies, listening to an audiobook, maybe a podcast, something like that. I am gonna have some links down below, some hotlines, some phone numbers, for people who may be struggling. If you need help, please reach out for help. I truly do mean it, that the world is better with you in it. Talking to you specifically, whoever's watching. So in this video I am gonna have some links and some hotlines down below because just my personal circle of friends and family and loved ones have been very much impacted by a lot of loss in a lot of different forms this year. So leaving those down below just in case you need it, in case you need a refresher to know what the numbers are, just in case you need anyone, like you need to send it to anyone, and yeah. So I know I'm getting a little serious here, a little dark, but if you need a sign, this is it. Call one of the numbers down below. You're here in this world, and the world is better with you in it, and I'm sorry you're hurting. So yeah, consider this a sign from like a random internet stranger who talks about books on the internet. Ghost face wants you here. The dogs want you here. I want you here. So I'm gonna go veg with the dogs. Might listen to some books, might not. We'll just have to see. I will update tomorrow. I hope y'all are having a great afternoon, morning, night, evening, whenever you're watching this. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Happy Friday, friends. I hope everyone is having a great start to their weekend. I am. It's definitely been a very low-key, relaxed start to the weekend. It's been raining, so me and the pups have just been inside. I worked a bit this morning, and I actually think with my new job, kind of trying to figure out which hours work the best for me, and I think I'm gonna split, so it's like I'll work in the morning, and then in the afternoon is gonna be like my stretch of time for myself, and then work again in the evening, just because I think that's gonna work better for me. I've always kind of thought that like having sprints like that might like be more beneficial to my personal productivity rather than working like all day long. So I'm gonna try that out. I tried it last night. I did end up working like later than I expected, but honestly, my partner usually games with his brother and some of his friends like later on at night. So I think when he's doing that, and a lot of times I'm like, okay, I don't really know what to do in these couple of hours before bed, I might try working for a little bit and then like doing a really long nighttime routine, listen to an audiobook book, get myself ready for bed. So I think I'm gonna try doing that, and we'll see how that works. Definitely a learning process, like working from home. So we're gonna try that, see how it works. But I did finish Night's Edge by Liz Kerin last night, technically this morning, and you know, I am excited to pick up the next book in this. I don't know if it's going to be a duology, going to be a series. I was not a fan of the end of this, but only because I don't have the second book in a series to pick up, and it feels so unfinished to me. But obviously it's the first book in a series, so not all of the conflict resolves. I will say, you know, some books in a series, they resolve some conflicts, they start others. This, like, I guess one major thing is resolved, but really the character has pretty much all the same conflicts, all the same issues that she had at the beginning of the story, which if you find that frustrating and like find it frustrating that you'll have to sit with that and then have to wait for the next book in the series, you know, maybe wait. I honestly think the next book in this series is coming out in like October of this year. I don't think it's a long wait at all, but the ending was kind of frustrating for me, but I am continuing on with the second book. I'm excited to see where our main character Mia goes. Slight spoiler for like the tone of the ending, not what happens, but just like the tone. So spoiler, skip ahead like a couple seconds if you don't want to hear it. But we don't leave Mia in the best place, physically, mentally, anything. So I'm sad. I want more for her. I really enjoyed the journey she started going throughout this book, and I'm excited to see what's gonna happen in the second one, because when I figured out that this was a series, and I was around like the middle of this book, I think, I was trying to figure out what the next book would be about. I had some ideas, ending proved me wrong, so I'm very curious to see what the second book is going to be about. I did really enjoy the commentary of Mia and her mother. Obviously, not everyone with abusive parents has vampires for parents, but their complex relationship was very, very interesting, and I think the vampirism story like really adds to that commentary, because Mia is a caretaker of her mother. She has no choice. She has a choice, but essentially she's been like taking care of her mother since the time she was 10 years old, which that parentification is not great mentally for a child. It's not the best situation. Like, you're supposed to be parented when you're 10. You're not supposed to be taking care of someone else and worrying that if you mess up, if you get too close to someone, if you do anything wrong, then your mother goes away. So she's had that from the age of 10. She has to give her mother blood every single day. So I guess in a way this is like the horror version of My Sister's Keeper, almost, with some of those themes of body autonomy. And her mother knows this, and her mother knows also that there's not a lot of room for argument, because she can easily overpower Mia. The fact that Mia is voluntarily doing all these things, she doesn't really have an option, and her mother kind of holds that over her head. She's not allowed to have her own life. She's in her late 20s, and her mother still treats her like a child, even though she's also like being the parent to her mother. It's a very strange, very unfortunate dynamic, and we see Mia kind of starts to want her own life, but feeling very guilty for even doing things like as simple as going out on a date. Like, her mother makes her feel very guilty for that, claims that she's abandoning her. So I think a lot of those themes, like if you have a difficult relationship with your parents, if you've ever had like something like that, that might be tough. Just the relationship of having her mother just kind of fail her in a lot of ways. Some ways are her fault, like some ways are her mother's fault, and then some ways aren't her mother's fault. Like, her mother did not ask to be bitten. Her mother did not ask to be turned into a vampire. But at the same time, there's a lot of just, it's a very unhealthy, complex, interesting dynamic between Mia and her mother, and really getting to see as well. I think this was done so well, where I don't think you would feel the same way that you would if you didn't have those flashbacks, because Mia loves her mom. Like, in 2010, like, you see like the trauma starting. Mia watches her mom die and then become reanimated, and she's trying to figure out as a 10-year-old how to protect her mom, how to protect herself, because this is scary, and then how to just, you know, become self-sufficient at a very, very young age and have that constant fear of people finding out about your mom, having your mom taken away, and loving your mom. And then you see their relationship, you know, in the present, and you're seeing Mia and her mother have this very complex relationship, and Mia struggles with loving her mother and knowing that her mother doesn't have another option. Like, she has Mia, she depends on Mia, but Mia feels guilty and feels selfish about wanting to have her own life, and do her own things, and maybe have a life outside of taking care of her mother, and struggling with that. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. The ending was frustrating, but I'm excited to pick up the next book in this series, and hopefully that comes out soon. I don't altogether know what I'm going to be picking up next. For fiction, I want to pick up A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. I've been saying that I'm going to be picking this up for about a month now, so I'd like to finish it before the end of this month. And when I say finish it, I mean I'm on page 20, so I'm gonna restart this one, but I think I'm gonna read it this week because it's just been on too many weekly TBRs, and not for any fault of its own. I'm excited about it, I just keep forgetting about it. And then I also am kind of feeling reading some nonfiction as well, so I do have this book that I need to return to the library soon, and that is Behold the Monster, Confronting America's Most Prolific Serial Killer by Jillian Lauren. And this is Jillian Lauren's interactions and interviews with serial killer Samuel Little. So this is Lauren's harrowing report of her unusual relationship with a psychopath, but this is more than a deep dive into the actions of Samuel Little. Lauren's riveting and emotional accounts reveal the women who are lost to cold files, giving Little's victims a chance to have their stories heard for the first time. So I don't actually know anything about Samuel Little and his crimes, but I think also based on the synopsis of this one too, that maybe he had a lot of Jane Doe victims, or a lot of victims that weren't connected to him until he started interviewing with this author. So I'm intrigued about that. So I've got, you know, some true crime, and I've got some gory horror cannibal fiction as well. So, you know, darker reads, but that's just what I'm in the mood for. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I think it stopped raining, I think maybe just sprinkling, so we're gonna go see if we can sneak the dogs out, take the dogs out in between bouts of thunderstorms, because they're spoiled. They don't like going to the bathroom when it's raining outside, but they've got to go at some point today. So hopefully we can get that done, get some reading in, get some more work in before the weekend starts. I will talk to y'all later. Happy Saturday, friends. It is the laziest of Saturdays. My partner is playing video games right now. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of reading, just some fun parallel play together. It is a great way to spend a Saturday. As you may tell from my sweatshirt, I'm not going outside and doing anything. We are going to pretend that it's not 1,000 degrees outside and just stay in and read some books. Now, remember in the last clip when I said I was going to read A Certain Hunger next? Well, library holds take priority. I do own A Certain Hunger, so I will get to it. But I just am not getting to it this weekend because I would like to go to the library on Monday and return some books that need returned, and one of them that does need returned is Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this one. This is a book in his new like Fractalverse universe, so it's not technically a series, but this one takes place in the same universe as To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I don't know if there'll be like any like interactions with characters or if they're all just standalone, but the end pages are the same in both books. So yeah, it's just a Fractalverse novel. It's a whole heck of a lot shorter than To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, but I'm very excited to dive into it. I'm only about 50 pages into it right now, so I don't have a lot to say other than the fact that it does feel like a very similar start to Sleep in a Sea of Stars. We're following a crew and they're going to explore different planets, kind of scout out different planets to see if there'll be one that would be good for a colony. And they find this mysterious anomaly on one of the planets, and it's an uninhabited planet. It's a circular pit 50 kilometers wide. Its curve is not of nature but design, so they think it's definitely intelligent life made, alien made, and so this crew is going to investigate it. Our main character Alex does also have, you start off by knowing this, it's not a spoiler, but his wife, or like partner, significant other recently died, and he's going through the grief of that, and just a very similar setup in a lot of ways to Sleep in a Sea of Stars. But I am intrigued. I do really enjoy Christopher Paolini's writing, so this is my fiction book for the weekend. It's not quite 300 pages, so I definitely think that I will be able to finish this by Monday. And then don't worry, I did actually pick up my non-fiction pick, Behold the Monster by Jillian Lauren, and it always feels strange to say enjoying a true crime book, but this is written really well. It's actually like a narrative nonfiction, so it is all about like the victims. There are so many, unfortunately, for this serial killer, and humanizing them and giving their life stories, which is so important because a lot of them were very much disenfranchised people. And I'm gonna read a quick little passage why I think nonfiction books like this are so important in the true crime genre, and it's really important to kind of pick and choose what true crime content that you're consuming and not treating it as entertainment for entertainment's sake, but actually know that these are like stories of real people. They're stories of real people going through like the worst day of their lives. So page 54 of Behold the Monster really sums this up for me, why I think books like this one are so important, especially because Samuel Little was killing for decades, and he killed maybe close to 100 women, and a lot of them are never going to be identified. A lot of them never were even investigated as a murder victim. So she flipped through Sam's mugshots, watched his face turn from posturing child to dandy in a sharkskin suit to wilder and disheveled to white-haired, scabrous, and transient. Every time he got out. How in the actual fuck could this have happened? How this happened is that a judge in Missouri thought 3 months was an appropriate sentence for rape and assault. How it happened is that law enforcement officials in Mississippi in the 80s didn't believe that it was possible to commit a crime against a black prostitute. How it happened was in a tradition of many serial killers before him, certainly the ones who had operated on Roberts' beat. He chose to dispose of victims society already thought were trash. So it's a powerful book. It's a book that I think is very important already, and I am like 80 pages into this, but it's a very important book where it is very much critiquing and calling out things that the US does, that society believes, and that law enforcement believes, because a lot of true crime I've noticed, especially in like the podcast sphere, you have to be careful because a large number of them are like overly glorifying police and police institutions, which not looking to get into a huge debate here, but abuses within the system and the system working for some people and not for others, for people in the United States thinking that some people deserve justice more than others, are victims more than others, and biases and flaws in police individuals, police departments, and the institution as a whole is why we end up with people like Samuel Little, who can commit almost 100 murders without getting caught, and that is 100 people. Like, those are people. The victims are people. So, you know, I think Jillian Lauren is doing a really great job of emphasizing those facts and emphasizing kind of all the things that went wrong, department by department, what is wrong with departments, wrong with the system as a whole, going into why this man could just hop from state to state to state. And if he served prison time for sexual assault, which he did several times, he was released again and again. So kind of going into a lot of different factors that made it so easy for this man to just keep on doing horrific things for years at a time. She's written some fiction before as well, I believe she stated in the introduction. So I think that makes this like very readable. And I do think it's very humanizing how she does give like that narrative nonfiction, kind of give the victims a voice and have their stories be told. So this is a very impactful read. I don't know if I'll finish it this weekend just because number one, it's very huge. It's probably 400 plus pages, and also it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. So I do have a science fiction story to kind of pick up for a lighter read, especially for in between chapters of this nonfiction. So these are the weekend reading plans. Gonna go convince my dogs to cuddle with me on the couch, get some reading in, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Hey vlog, happy Monday. It is finally time to wrap this weekly reading vlog up. I unfortunately just wasn't feeling the best yesterday, so I didn't get as much reading in as I would have liked to. A lot of napping, a lot of sleeping, just was feeling a little bit anxious, but I did manage to get almost 90% of the way through Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. I should be able to finish this today. I feel very conflicted about this one because the writing style is there. The writing style is really good. I think if you read the synopsis and go into it kind of expecting that to happen, it will. Just for me, this is like the darkest Christopher Paolini book I've ever read. Most of his stuff has like this thread of hope throughout it, and this one's definitely the bleakest, and it feels like very repetitive. And I did kind of look in the afterword and acknowledgements just because I was so close to finishing, and he does say that he wrote this story because of a bad dream, and that he actually wrote this before To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, and it was originally a short story, and he wasn't like liking the dark tone that it had. He put it down, worked on To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, and then came back to this one and fleshed it out, made it more optimistic, and then it made it from a short story into a novel. I'm almost wondering if this would have been better as a short story, just because we are following characters doing the same action, like the same physical action. A lot of the forward plot momentum comes from internal actions and dialogue and just like interpersonal conflicts. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to end, because he says that this was very dark and he didn't want to put something so dark out into the world, but this still feels like a little bit darker than his other stuff that he's written before, which that's not a problem. But a lot of the things that I loved about To Sleep in a Sea of Stars like are absent in here. Like there's a wonderful like found family in the crew. I will say the audiobook is absolutely wonderful of this. There are sound effects that are very eerie, really help kind of add to this sense of impending doom that the characters feel. So yeah, I haven't finished this, but I'm feeling a lot of conflicted thoughts about it. Let me know down below if you've read this, because I really enjoyed To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I'm really enjoying this one too on like a technical level. It's written excellently. It's probably written better than like a lot of his earlier work, like Aragon, but just for me, like the enjoyment isn't there. The characters are very, very unlikable, and it's hard to kind of find stakes to like root for them. But yeah, if you've read this, let me know your thoughts down below, because by the time I upload this, I will have finished this. So try and spoiler tag them for people who haven't, but I'm curious to hear others' thoughts about this. And I only got about 2 more chapters in my nonfiction because, like I said, it's very dark, sad, traumatic subject material. So I'm just taking this one very slow. We'll probably work on it for a couple of weeks, but that is going to be the end of this week's reading vlog. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to my channel for all of the spooky and bookish and cozy gaming content. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, which is so exciting. So thank you all so much for that. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!